Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm at Grand Lake St. Mary's on the northeastern shore by the little village of Villanova. But this lake has been in crisis mode for the last 5 to 10 years. I don't know how many years, but the last 7 or 8 years is when they started taking notice of it. You see these warnings about the algae bloom, and here's some signs that alert people. You know, avoid water that looks like spilled paint, has surface scum, mats or films, is discolored, has color streaks, has green globs floating below the surface. Avoid swallowing lake water. Yeah, you better not swallow this. But anyway, this has been an ongoing problem for the last several years. They've had a lot of problems up here with runoff from these farms, and about the geese are the only ones that enjoy this filthy mess. It's a beautiful area, I'll say that much, but it's just, the area is just, you know, with all these problems with the toxic algae that the lake has had for the last several years. I don't know when it's ever going to be in a state that's honestly going to be usable again, but to my naked eye, I don't really know how to detect the algae. Well, I guess if I seen water that was really discolored, but I could tell they're trying to fix the problem. But I mean, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe one big problem this lake is having is, if you see around the lake right here, there's not much habitat or vegetation on the lake, and I believe getting the vegetation regrown and returning it to its natural state. And I don't blame the homeowners that have bought homes around the lake. It is a beautiful area, but I believe when they started, however many decades or years ago that was, when they started developing homes around the lake, I believe that was just as responsible as anything is for these problems that this lake has had with the algae problems. You can tell the water's kind of brown, but you know, some say it's getting better, some say it's getting worse. But this is an absolutely massive lake. It's around 10 miles long on each side, east to west, and around 5 or 6 north to south on the Salina side and the St. Mary's side of it. It's a beautiful area. I did get in contact with a person who is in charge of the Grand Lake Restoration, Milton Miller, but he's not available this week. I would love for him to have accompanied me on some of these, you know, videos right here about this lake. But it's a beautiful lake. It's only about 3 or 4 or 5 feet deep. It was built as a feeder lake for the Miami and the Erie canal system, is what the lake's original purpose was, and that was back in the 1830s. Or, well, actually, probably goes back to the 1820s, 1830s. So, you know, this is a very friendly community. This is a community, this whole region. These are very friendly, great people and gracious people. There's 3 things that matter to these people up here, and they all begin with 3 F's. CF, they're Catholic faith. This is a very Catholic region in Ohio. Many settlers from the Miami and the Erie Canal came in you know, through Cincinnati and work their way further north and brought their families with them as they scattered throughout Ohio, and they came up here. And their family and farming. So that's what life is up here. You know, your Catholic faith, family, and farming. And these are very gracious and friendly people. And of course, everybody wants, I think, the lake to be better, and for ultimately the farmers to be able to, you know, still use the stuff that they need to use to grow their crops without harming this lake and the waterway. I think certainly the situation up in Toledo last year, I think, put massive emphasis on these types of problems with their drinking water. Was declared unsafe for several days. And I think the only reason why they haven't had that kind of crisis on this large of a scale here is because the outside of, you know, the cities or the little villages, almost everybody's on well water up here. So unless you're in the little towns itself, you're more than likely on well water. And I've heard septic tanks have been failing, septic systems have been listed as a possible cause or failure for this, you know, lake as well, you know, with the toxic algae bloom. So it's early afternoon. I'm going to be doing a few more videos around the lake. I'm on the northeastern shore. I'm going to work my way around to the southeast shore because I believe that's where most of the problems on the south shore have been, where they've had the most problems with the runoff. But anyway, that's it for this one.